Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and it is day one of the November 2025 Black Friday release. I am using the brand new Gnome Dies 3 Wise Men, the new Gnome Dies Nativity add-ons, the new We Three Kings stamp set, Christmas Blessing stamp set, Slimline dies, and the Gnome Dies Church add-ons, and the Embellishment Cluster dies, and the Stitch Circle die. So I did assemble these little Wise Men on the Wise Men assembly video, so check that out. Everything I used will be listed in my blog post. Okay, so first of all, this is a piece of paper tray ink white cardstock, cut at 7 by 10 inches, scored at 5 inches to give us an A7 card, which is a 5 by 7 inch card. I'm adding a 1 inch strip of basil Swiss dot in kind of like this teal color. I'm going to trim off that overhang with a pair of scissors. I never make 5 by 7 inch cards, but today I am. So I'm using my Teflon bone folder. Next, this is a piece of that same basil Swiss dot in teal, cut at 4 3/4 by, 6 3/4 inches. So 1/4 of an inch smaller. Or am I lying, or is it an 1/8 of an inch? You know what? It might be an 1/8 of an inch smaller. Sorry. It was cut at 1/8 of an inch smaller than an A7 card. Sorry about that. And I will add that to my card front with some ATG tape. Next, we have some hills that were cut using Jaded Blossom Slimline dies from Paper Tray Ink Craft cardstock. And I'm trying to make some sandy covered hills. And I'm going to stamp a sentiment using my Misty and VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And the new stamp set called We Three Kings. And that's what I'm stamping, We Three Kings, in that VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And the nice, I kind of hit the camera there. So I'm going to stamp that a couple of times just so I get a nice clean image. And there we go. I'm also going to stamp a sentiment on the inside. And these are Christmas blessings from this Christmas Blessings stamp set. So it's Oh Come Let Us Adore Him and then Christmas Blessings. So I'm just going to line those up as straight as I can and use that same VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink and stamp the sentiments on the inside. So there we go. And I'm just going to do that again. And there we have it. So now I am going to apply these little sandy hills to the bottom of my card with some ATG tape. And I'm not going to apply the glue or the ATG right up to the top because I'm going to slip some things behind there. So I'm just sticking down the bottom. So I'm going to stick my first layer down. And then I'm going to add my next hill. Kind of want to stagger them, right? So it kind of looks, a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to slip that in place as well. There we are. Now this is the largest Stitch Circle die, and I cut that out of Basil Bling in yellow. So it's got a nice glittery shine to it. And I'm going to add that to my background. I am going to trim off the bottom a little bit, just so it can fit in behind these hills. There it is. So this could be either the sun coming up or the sun setting or whatever you want. Or even the moon, I guess. I'm going to trim off that overhang with a pair of scissors. There. And now I'm going to be adding on these little Wise Men with some ATG tape. Now, like I said, there is an assembly video for these guys, so check that out. And everything that I used to assemble them will be listed in my blog post. So I'm going to be adding 3 of these. I did use Stardream Metallic on a lot of their clothing. It's a real shimmery, fun cardstock. And it just makes them look really rich because they're supposed to be like, We Three Kings, Wise Men, right? So I am going to add on some more ATG tape. And of course this came undone a bit. So I'm going to have to fix that. And I'm going to add a little bit of glue around the edges just to make sure this glues down nice and flat. I'm going to slip that one under his mustache. And then next we've got that last guy, and we will glue him in place as well. I love the mustaches on these guys. I just think they're so fun, and I keep hitting my camera. I'm sorry, guys. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue around the edge again, just to make sure this sticks down really well. And I'm going to sort of have him kind of higher than the other two, right? And oops, I'm just making sure I get some glue off there. And there we go. So this is the star from the Jaded Blossom brand new Gnome Dies Nativity add-ons. And this was cut from a Die Cuts with a View foiled 6-inch pad in gold. There, so that's the Star of Wonder that they're following, right? And then I'm going to use Jaded Blossom's embellishment cluster dies in a moment here, after I pop up the little gifts that they're carrying. So this one is gold. And I think this would be frankincense, but I'm not 100% sure. And then the other one would be myrrh oil, I would think. So I'm just going to pop them up. Isn't this cute? So the skin tones were all cut from P13 stamping pad skin tones. So you're going to want to peel off that backing paper and get that in place. So isn't that fun? There we go. So we've got our 3 kings. Now that looks cute as it is, but I'm going to be sprinkling some gold stars here and there in the background from Jaded Blossom's embellishment cluster dies, just for fun. And you know me, more is more, right? I think I went a little over the top here. I couldn't leave it plain though, you know what I mean? So these are different, you know, gold card stocks. And I just think it looks great, like to have, you know, different, different ones that shine a little bit different, that are slightly a different color. Just looks a little bit different, right? So I'm going to add on these little ones. Trying to add them on with my embellishment wand again. There we go. We'll get it in place. Oops. I'm all thumbs. That's why embellishment wands are good. And then I did it again. Like I said, I'm just kind of all thumbs, right? And then I'm going to add on this one. And I think that's enough for now, or unless I add another one in here. Oh, there we go. There's 2 more little dabs of glue. And there we are. So lots of stars. And then on the inside, I'm going to add 3 stars as well, because normally I add something on the inside. So I'm just going to add 3 of these. And then we will call it done. So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jaded Blossom blog, be inspired by the team. The Jaded Blossom store to get your hands on these awesome products. And remember, there's a Black Friday sale going on. Bye, everybody.